Hello and welcome to this very first video of the 2022-23 season to coincide with the release of today's Premier League fixtures with me, Holly Shand. Today I'll be looking at the fixture difficulty ticker. I'll also be having a look at the Premier League calendar for the first part of the season and also having an early look at captaincy for the opening weeks of the season. If you are new around here, give me your reaction to the fixtures in the comments and please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. I feel like my fixture ticker has been all over socials today. Probably seen them in a few other videos. I was the original maker of these. I'm hoping to really improve on my graphics this season, and this is the first of them. I'm sure I'll be dreaming about fixture tickers come tonight, but this is the fixture ticker for the opening 8 game weeks of the season, sorted by difficulty. I've made my own fixture difficulty rating. Obviously, we've not got anything on the Premier League site just yet because the game hasn't launched yet. There's rumours that it will launch next week. I'd like to see it before July, given that we've got a little bit of an earlier start to the season, but it's basically based on last season's Premier League table. However, there is a little bit of form included in there, home and away, particularly for the back end of the season. And for me, I've never seen a fixture ticker as polarised as this one. The fact that we've got all of last season's top 5 in the top half of the fixture ticker, Arsenal and Liverpool in the top 3, and then the bottom half of the table, certainly those final 2 positions for Fulham and Bournemouth. It's a great time for the top clubs. It's a really poor start for those promoted teams. I think, I always recommend people don't go with players from the promoted teams anyway, but, the likes of Bournemouth and Fulham with those fixtures, we're going to be steering clear. Alexander Mitrovic could have been a fantastic option for game week 1, given he scored 43 goals in 44 games in the Championship last season. However, with those fixtures, I don't think many managers are going to be taking a punt. Forest are the only team to make it into the top half of the table, but their squad is going to go through quite a lot of development over the off-season. They had a lot of players in the Championship last season on loan that maybe haven't been retained. Their retained list was looking pretty thin on the ground, so that is something to consider. But in terms of big talking points in here then, Arsenal and Brighton both avoid playing last season's top 5. Liverpool and Man City are well up there, as are Chelsea and Spurs. The issue with Chelsea and Spurs, though, is that they play each other in game week 2, which can, put us off a little bit. The other talking points in terms of players where we might find, some that will help us with the budget, I think Brighton and Brentford are going to be good places to look, and potentially Leeds United, depending on what business they do in the window. At the opposite end of the table, I think the likes of Crystal Palace, Leicester, West Ham and even Manchester United is going to be a tough sell for some of those assets from those clubs in the opening weeks of the season, but lots to consider in there. Now, I also want to consider the fixture calendar for the opening of the season. It's a truncated season. We've got the Qatar FIFA 2022 World Cup happening across November and December. So we've got 16 game weeks coming before that. Then we've got a 6-week break from Premier League action as international players are released for that tournament. So it does mean that there's a few things to consider in here, actually. Whether FPL will give fantasy managers some help to manage that transition off the back of the World Cup. I could foresee a situation where we maybe get unlimited transfers after the World Cup, but that's why I've looked at the fixture ticker for the opening 8 game weeks, because we've got 1 international break rather than the usual 2 in those early game weeks of the season. And the second international break traditionally has been a good time for fantasy managers to wildcard, and with just 1 international break before the World Cup, I think if managers are in a position where they want to use a wildcard before the World Cup happens, I think that international break between game week 8 and game week 9 is going to be a sensible time to use it, because you've got lots of information over those opening 8 game weeks. We've also got the transfer window that's settled down. We're starting to see which starting 11s are going to be the ones that the teams go for, who's on set pieces, all of those questions that we maybe don't know the answers to at the start of the season. We've definitely got all of that information by game week 8, but it's going to be a congested early period of the season. We've got all of the Champions League and Europa League group rounds, all 6 fixtures to their conclusion, are going to be played before the World Cup as well, which is something different, particularly looking after that international break. There's no free midweek after that international break for players from the top 6 clubs before they hit the World Cup. So we are going to see a lot of rotation. So that's something that we need to consider when it gets to the point where we can get on the FPL website and create our squads. The last thing that I want to share with you today is the captain matrix that I've come up with for game week 1 to game week 8. Now, the big question at the start of every season is whether we can get 3 premium players into our squads in terms of the attackers, and then from then it's which 3 premium players, or would we be better with 2? Well, you know, what normally dictates that is captaincy over the opening weeks. And if you look at the first 7 game weeks for Liverpool, I think Mo Salah is going to be a very good captain pick for all of those opening 7 game weeks, even potentially every single week. But we do have some interesting fixtures elsewhere. For example, Spurs play Southampton at home in game week 1. We know what Son and Kane have done to that Southampton high line in the past. We've also got Spurs playing Forest away in game week 4, but Liverpool do have Bournemouth at home that week. Spurs playing Fulham at home in game week 6 is a big fixture though, when Liverpool have got the Merseyside derby. But then we look at the Manchester City column as well. I know there's a temptation to go with Son or Kane, but Manchester City have got Bournemouth at home at game week 2, Nottingham Forest at home in game week 5. 2 really nice fixtures there. Now, Kevin De Bruyne is probably, or should probably be, the go-to option from the Man City attack. But a lot of fantasy managers are going to be very excited that Erling Haaland is in the Premier League and is an option in FPL. And I can see his ownership being very high. And, you know, looking at this captain matrix, I know it is very early days, but right now, Salah and Haaland, I can tell you, will be the template premiums to go for in game week 1. It's very early to be talking about template and premium players. However, just having a look at the fixtures and what the sensible moves are on paper, that's going to be quickly emerging as the approach to go for. I want to know then which players you have got your eye on to start the season with, particularly those premium players. I hope you've enjoyed this first video back and the new graphics. I'm really trying to improve the channel this season. I'll be back with more live streams soon as well. I'm waiting to move house to get some faster broadband, and then hopefully that will be with you. But if you've enjoyed this video from me, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back very soon once the FPL website has launched with some more content. Bye for now.